Now, and welcome to this tutorial on how to use computers just that little bit better and become a cool kid. And during this tutorial you're going to learn what makes a good passphrase, how to use a keyboard, which sounds weird but trust me, there's some keys that you need to know about, how to use shortcuts to speed up your computer use, and how to organise your files. And if you get all the way through this, there's an interesting little outro for you. And there's just a couple of bits of vocabulary to help you with this lesson. So passphrase is a password that is a sentence or phrase. Shortcut is, as far as I'm talking, a shortcut is a combination of key presses to achieve something. So for example, Control S is save or Control V is paste. And before we learn what makes a good passphrase, here's an example of why you should always use unique passphrases. So this is from an email that I got to my personal email, saying that the creators Zynga, so the creators of Words with Friends, their website was hacked. So my email address along with my password and 172 million other accounts were leaked onto the internet. So criminals have got a hold of my password, my email address. It's probably encrypted, so it's probably safe. May not be hackable, but don't know. My email address and my password is out there somewhere. Now fortunately I don't use the same password for all websites, but if I did, the criminals could think, let's try Amazon and see if I've got an account on there, and they could spend all my money. Likewise, they could go to eBay, spend all my money, or go onto social media and ruin my reputation. Dang it. Not really got a social media reputation, but never mind. With websites you don't really need to know the passwords, because you can always use the forgot password link, which is always on the login page. So all you really need to know is your email address and your password for email, and make sure it's a good one. And here are some passwords, that I found on Wikipedia. So this is the top 10 for the last decade. You can see some fairly useless passwords on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the current winner. Other words I like on here, I like monkey. Let me in, I thought that was quite clever at the time, back in, I don't know, years ago. Princess, dragon, all those kind of stuff. So don't use anything to do with those passwords. Don't use football, don't use anything like that, because they is rubbish. When it comes to choosing a good passphrase, you could try things like I love donuts with a capital I and number 1 on the end, just so you've got the capitals and the numbers.
I had no idea these characters were so special until all of our eyes stopped upon the exclamation mark. You're coming with me, which we then put at the end of our now capitalized password, just after the 1. And it's at this moment that everybody at the London Palladium is thinking, I should probably change my password. I'm probably going to do that tomorrow.
Mr. McIntyre there reminding us that us humans are in general terrible at setting passwords. We usually put a capital letter at the beginning, a number 1 on the end, and sometimes an exclamation mark on the end. So try and mix it up a little bit. Keep the criminals guessing. Little cat, little bit of pink bus. I catch the bus to school. I like tigers. Look in the sky. Just all these sentences that you could potentially use. Nice, easy to remember, about as easy to remember as a password, really. But the password phrases should also contain capitals, lowercase, numbers, not contain your name. I mean, Who on earth would use their name as a passphrase? It's like the easiest thing to hack in the world, and be 8 characters or more. And this is just so that all the websites can accept your passphrase, or passphrases. Also, never share your passphrases with your friends, because they might be your best friends forever now, but what about next month or next year? Plus they might have a look at your password and think, I wonder what else I could use this password for. But yeah, that's just me, you know. And this is just a word to the wise. Microsoft Edge or Microsoft Explorer, they've never been particularly good, and for a lot of the web apps that I use these days, they just don't work properly. So it's not the best, but use Chrome instead. It seems to work on all of the websites I've ever used. So yeah, but never use Microsoft Edge again, I would say. And while I've got my moaning hat on, the caps lock key, a bit of a nemesis of mine, don't use the caps lock key anymore, unless you're writing long sentences of shouting. Trouble is that when you use it for passwords, you're never quite sure whether you've turned it on, turned it off. Nobody seems to check the keyboard for the lights, and yeah, just so many problems. So I'm going to show you how to deal with that instead. But just as proof, Chromebooks don't even have caps lock key. They use a search key instead. Right, so instead of using the caps lock key, you're going to hold down Shift when you press a key. I know this sounds really, really obvious, but I'm just going to go through using the Shift key. So if I'm writing a sentence, I am called capital, so hold down Shift, W, H-E-E-L, man, Wheelieman, hold down Shift, so I let go of Shift, have a cat called, and then hold down Shift, capital M, let go of Shift, meow cat, he is evil, and his evilness inspired the outro, which I'm very, very, very proud of. Oh, actually, delete that. Let's go for, so on the left hand side press Shift, E, V, on the right hand side press Shift, I, L. So he is evil. Okay, next slide. So I'm going to nip back to Word and show you how double clicking works, triple clicking works to highlight text. I'm also going to talk about the escape key. Actually, I'll do that now. So top left of your keyboard is the ESC button. Often when you get errors or when the programs start to mess about,
what did you do? I don't know.
Sometimes when you press escape, it sort of gets you out of trouble. I'm going to show you about using Shift and Control when selecting things, particularly when you're selecting files. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to use Alt-Tab to change the programs. So here I am back in Word. We all know that if I click in the middle of this word called, that's going to move the cursor into the middle of the word. Single click, no biggie. Right, if I double click on this though, so 1, 2, double click, can you see it highlights the whole word? Let's move to the word cat. So if I triple click on here, can you see it highlights the whole sentence? Just saves that little bit of time. Next I was going to explain how you can use Shift or Control to highlight files. So I'm in my file manager. A whole bunch of Christmas cards have been sent for printing to me. So for example, if I want to print all of these, I could click on the first one and then hold Shift down and click on the last one, and it selects all of them, or I could click on one, hold down Control, and you can select individual ones, or working together you could click on the beginning, hold down Shift and click on the end, and then use the Control button to unhighlight some. So that would be my printing ones. Also, I can show you how to use Alt Tab. So if I hold down the Alt button, which is next to the space bar, with my thumb, and use my forefinger just to tap the Tab button, which is the one above the caps lock. So if I hold down Alt, tap the Tab button, I can see my list of programs, so I can swap back into Word. And then let's just tab along to the internet. So imagine I was taking notes from this slide. I could Alt Tab to go back into Word, type my notes up, go back into the slide, have a bit more of a read, Alt Tab, continue typing my notes, Alt Tab, going backwards and forwards. So it just saves time, it saves messing around with moving your mouse around. That's the whole point of these keyboard shortcuts. And then next I'm going to show you how to evidence your work. So have a look at that for a sec. There's the button, the Windows button and the Shift button. So on this slide I'm going to show you how to use the print screen button, or the button. It takes a picture of your whole screen. And then using Shift, Windows and S, you can take pictures of a particular area of the screen. And then finally, just going to throw this one in there, how to lock your computer, and explain what that's all about. So I'm just going to Alt Tab into Word. Try again. There you go. Right, now if I press the Prutska button on the keyboard, that takes a picture of the screen. Nothing happens yet. So if I now press Enter, so I get it onto a new line, and then Control V is paste, and that pastes the picture of the screen in. Nice and simple. If I now print screen and paste that in, makes it a little bit smaller. So print screen and paste, and again, so it's Windows within Windows, and print screen and then paste. We've got Windows within Windows within Windows, and print screen and paste, and it carries on and on and on and on and on. And you can sort of, it depending on your screen, you can make it look like one of those infinity mirrors, like when you step into an escalator, like when you step into one of those lifts that has mirrors on both sides. It looks very fun. Right, the second one is if you press Windows, Shift and S, makes the screen go dark, and then you could highlight over just a particular area. So let's maybe do the top, and that's copied into my clipboard. So if I press Enter and then just paste, Control V, it just pastes in the area that you've just copied. The last little one was Windows L. So if you're getting out of your seat, leaving your computer, maybe going for a wee, or speaking to the teacher, or wandering aimlessly around a classroom, don't get it, but some people do. If you press Windows L, it locks your computer. So it means that nobody can fiddle around while you're gone, delete your files and be just generally very naughty, yeah? Okay, next slide. Right, so some shortcuts, some keyboard shortcuts. Control Z is your new best friend. Control Z is undo, so it goes back a step. If you make a mistake, Control Z, go back a step. If you do Control Z too many times and you want to go forwards a step or repeat your action, Control Y is redo. I don't use this all that often, but Control C is copy. Usually I sort of right click on things to do copy on images and stuff, and then Control V I use a lot, nearly as much as Control Z. So Control V is paste. and I'm also going to show you the difference between delete and the backspace keys. And to do this, I'm going to Alt-Tab into Word. Okay, so if I do Control-Z, it's undo. It will remove all of these print screens. If I do Control-Y, it brings them all back. So Control-Y, Control-Y, Control-Y. Right, let's just do Control-Z to take us back to the beginning. Right. As far as the delete and the backspace buttons go, so if I click in the middle of called, let's just zoom in a minute. Control and using the roller on the mouse. Right, so if I press backspace, it deletes to the left, and if I press delete, it deletes to the right. So delete to the left, delete to the right, and then Control-Z, 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 and we're back to the beginning. So yeah, that's one of the differences between backspace and delete. Another one is, so if I Alt-Tab into my Windows Explorer, if I wanted to delete one of these files, if I press backspace, it just takes me back a page. So let's just go forwards again. If I wanted to delete, I actually press the delete key and it just deletes the file. So backspace does work in programs for deleting things, but for example in Windows it doesn't work. You've got to use the actual delete key. Next in shortcuts, so these aren't combination key presses, doesn't involve the control key at all. These are placing shortcuts to programs either in your start menu or your taskbar. So let's have a look at what that involves. For example, if I want to be able to link to Word, so I can find that as quickly as possible, if I search my start menu for Word, so WRD, I can right click on it and choose pin to start. So when I press my start button, it's there. I'm just going to put it somewhere nice and neat. And I can also pin it to my taskbar. So if I search for Word again and right click on it, I can choose pin to taskbar. There we go. And we'll just move that along there. And that'll be there whenever I log in, so I can go open Word straight away. Next, let me introduce you to your quick access area, essentially favorites. This is in your file manager, anything to do with files and locating files. Your quick access list is always available to you. So for example, if I open up my file explorer, so I've got an ICT folder here, I can drag that and just hold it over there, so when that black line appears I can let go. Don't drop it on the existing links, but you need to get that black line up just so it goes between them, otherwise you just send your folder into another folder somewhere. Okay, so that's always there. If I open up PowerPoint, for example, and do a save, so file, save, browse, yeah, so there you have it. It's in your quick access folder is always available to you. And finally, I'm going to show you how to organize your files in so much that you can upload them to the cloud to back them up and organize them by putting them in folders. So I've already logged into office.com and I'm going to show you how to get to your OneDrive, create a folder and upload a file into it. The reason it's a good idea to upload into the cloud is because the cloud's everywhere these days. I personally think that Google Drive is much better, but OneDrive will do. It's much better than carrying files around on USB sticks, which stop working for no apparent reason, and that's the end of it. You can't get your files back. And also infamous for transmitting viruses around on computers. It's not like we don't have enough viruses in the world, in the human land. That's a little nod to Corona. Right, there's a little bit more information on this video if you want to check that out on the channel. So let's go to my browser. So I'm in Office at the minute. I've already logged in. I'm going to click on OneDrive and we're going to make a new folder and call it ICT. So Shift ICT, let go of Shift and create. And then in ICT I'm going to upload. You can upload an entire folder's worth of files if you need to. Saves a little bit of time. So files, and then let's grab hold of one of these Christmas cards. There we go. And it uploads, and there it is. It's in the cloud. Nearly done now. So in summary, I've shown you what makes a good passphrase, shown you some new bits and bobs on the keyboard, how shortcuts can be used to speed up your work in a couple of different ways, and finally how to organize your files and upload them into the cloud. As promised earlier in the presentation, here comes my vaguely funky outro that involves a cat. You could call it a meowtro. Don't give up your day job, John. Right, here it is. And of course, being the end of the video, it's my usual plea of have a look outside. If it's sunny, go and get some vitamin D. Get some exercise, walk the dog. Haven't got a dog? How about your cat? Cat's a bit evil. Well, wear gloves, some thick trousers and just be careful, yeah. And I shall see you next time.